From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day, this is Dateline Malacañang and here are the news. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Wednesday said that innovative policies and initiatives are vital in addressing the challenges plaguing the country's justice system. During the first National Jail Decongestion Summit at the Diamond Hotel in Manila, Marcos called on the Justice Sector Coordinating Council or JSCC to take advantage of the technology and innovative practices to make the justice system efficient and effective. The JSCC is composed of the Supreme Court or SC, the Department of Justice or DOJ, and the Department of the Interior and Local Government or DILG. In a speech delivered by Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, the President urged the JSCC to pursue the streamlining and digitalization of frontline and back-end services. By embracing technology and innovative practices, they can enhance efficiency, reduce delays, and ensure swift and fair legal procedures. President Marcos said the Philippines must also learn from the successes and best practices of other countries where innovative solutions have been implemented to address the challenges in the justice system. The chief executive expressed confidence that the discussions in the summit would pave the way for better policies and initiatives that will address the root causes of the problems in the justice system. President Marcos urged the participants in the summit to share their insights, experiences, and best practices, saying collaborative efforts would help build a society where justice is swift, fairness is paramount, and compassion prevails. The Philippine president skipped the event because he had to undergo a 5-day isolation after contracting the COVID-19. Led by the JSCC, the 2-day summit brings together various government agencies and other stakeholders to tackle challenges in the penal system and ease the congestion problem in jails across the country through a whole-of-government approach. The summit features 4 plenary sessions, parallel workshops, best practices from other countries, and testimonies from persons deprived of liberty. The JSCC also plans to unveil the Jail Decongestion Concept Note, which is a document that sets the stage for the conference by presenting the current state of affairs and establishing the foundation for the agenda.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, the Philippine Department of Migrant Workers or DMW established a Japan Employment Facilitation Desk or Japan Desk in Tokyo and Osaka for easier deployment of overseas Filipino workers or OFWs. That will ensure a safe and stable working environment for them. In a press release issued on Wednesday, DMW officer in charge, Under Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak, said the creation of the Japan Desk is a testament to the strong labor market partnership between the Philippines and Japan. Kakdak said the Japan Desk is a specialized unit that aims to streamline and facilitate the deployment of overseas OFWs or overseas Filipino workers to Japan, which is one of the Philippines' key labor markets. It will be headed by DMW Undersecretary for Policy and International Cooperation, Patricia Yvonne Kaunan. The desk will also serve as the focal unit for Japanese concerns and will be recommending rewards and incentives for Japanese principals and employers, Japan, registered vessels, licensed Philippine recruitment agencies or PRAs, and manning agencies. Kaunan, meanwhile, said the establishment of the Japan desk marks a significant milestone in the history of Philippine overseas employment and fulfilled the commitment made by the late Secretary Susan Toots Ople in February 2023. Meanwhile, the Japanese government welcomes the launch of the Japan desk together with its concerned government agencies, business organizations, and the Filipino community leaders and workers in Japan who pledged their cooperation and support for the initiative. Japan's Ministry of Justice said that as of July 2023, there are 61,766 registered Filipino workers in Japan, mostly working in the construction and manufacturing sector under the Technical Internship Training Program or TITP, and in the care workers and professionals categories. Kaunan said that the establishment of the Japan desk is also one of the legacies of the late DMW Secretary Ople, who is always committed to the welfare of Filipino workers.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news stories, Malacañang on Wednesday announced that Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has appointed Cesar Chavez as Presidential Assistant for Strategic Communications. Chavez will serve under the office of the President, holding the rank of Undersecretary based on the list of new presidential appointees posted on the Presidential Communications Office's official Facebook page. Mr. Chavez worked as Department of Transportation or DOTR Undersecretary for Railways and Deputy Administrator of the Light Rail Transit Authority or LRTA. He also became a member of the Board of Directors of the Bases Conversion and Development Authority. Chavez also served as a news anchor and station manager of DZRH and Chief of Staff of former Manila Mayor Francisco Isko Moreno Domagoso. Meanwhile, the President also named new appointees to the DOTR and the Department of Trade and Industry or DTI. The President designated Jeremy Regino as DOTR Undersecretary. Regino served as General Manager of the Philippine National Railways and LRTA Administrator. He was also Chief of Staff of former Caloocan City Mayor Oscar Malapitan, the LRTA, the Philippine Tourism Authority, and former Pangasinan Governors Oscar Orbos and Rafael Colet. President Marcos likewise tapped Mayor Jean Pacheco and Michael Christian Ablan as DTI Undersecretary and Assistant Secretary respectively. Before her promotion, Pacheco served as DTI Assistant Secretary for Digital Philippines and Officer in charge of the department's Consumer Protection Group. Ablan, on the other hand, worked as the Department of Education Undersecretary for Administration. He also worked as then Presidential Communications and Operations Office under the Duterte administration as Assistant Secretary for Policy, Legislative Affairs, and Freedom of Information or FOI and Undersecretary for Administration, Finance, and FOI.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, the Philippine National Police or PNP on Wednesday identified the two persons of interest or POI allegedly linked to the December 3 bombing at the Mindanao State University or MSU gym in Marawi City that killed 4 persons and wounded at least 50 others. In a press briefing in Camp Crame, Quezon City, PNP spokesperson Colonel Jean Fajardo said these are Kadapi Mimbesa alias Engineer and Arsani Mimbesa alias Hatab, and Lapitos, both members of the Daula Islamia Maute group. She said Mimbesa was one seen by witnesses as carrying the bag which purportedly contained the bomb used in the blast. Mimbesa has a standing arrest warrant for murder in Marawi City. Fajardo said the suspects were identified based on the description of the witnesses. The PNP spokesperson explained that it took a while to release the photos of the 2 POIs as they verified these first with the Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP. Meanwhile, Fajardo said the bomb threat purportedly sent by a Japanese lawyer named Takahiro Karasawa is a hoax. Fajardo said the same threat had already circulated in September and October and was investigated by the PNP Anti-Cybercrime Group. According to the email, Karasawa threatened that he had planted high-performance bombs in several buildings in Metro Manila. She added the PNP has already coordinated with foreign counterparts to trace the origin of this email, which has also reportedly circulated in Taiwan, China, and South Korea. The AFP also urged the public to ignore and relay to law enforcement authorities unsolicited text messages spreading false information aimed at sowing chaos and panic in the wake of the Marawi bombing. AFP spokesperson Colonel Medel Aguilar said such messages disseminated by text messages and through various social media platforms do not help stabilize the situation.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, the Philippine Department of Health or DOH on Wednesday reported 4 confirmed cases of Mycoplasma pneumoniae infection or walking pneumonia among recorded influenza-like illnesses or ILI cases as of November 25. Mycoplasma pneumoniae is not a new pathogen and it has been previously detected among local cases. Children infected with this type of pneumonia do not feel sick enough to lay on the bed to rest, thus the term walking pneumonia. Latest DOH data showed that ILI cases nationwide started to increase during late August on Morbidity Week 34 and a higher number of cases was sustained over the next several weeks. The DOH, however, said the case increase has started to slow down with a total of 9,834 ILI cases reported in the recent 3 to 4 weeks or morbidity from October 29 to November 11, 2023, about 11% lower than the 11,106 cases reported 2 weeks prior. Based on the 5-year data, ILI cases are expected to continue declining in the coming weeks but are expected to rise again by the start of January. The public is encouraged to perform individual self-assessment and employs layers of protection, like masking, ensuring adequate ventilation, isolating when sick, as well as getting vaccinated and boosted to prevent respiratory infections from further increasing, especially this holiday season.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news stories, the Philippines has vowed to advance seafarers' welfare in the International Maritime Organization or IMO Council agenda after securing a seat in a re-election victory last week. The country received 136 votes out of the possible 168 votes, ranking with the 4th highest number of votes among countries vying for a Category C seat on the IMO Council for 2024 to 2025. The elections were held last December 1 during the 33rd IMO Assembly at the IMO headquarters in London. In a statement, the DFA said this is a huge leap from the 112 votes the country received in 2021, showing the trust and confidence of IMO member states to the maritime credentials of the Philippines. Philippine Ambassador to the United Kingdom and Permanent Representative to the IMO Teodoro Locsin Jr. vowed that the Philippines would keep seafarers at the center of the IMO's agenda. Other elected countries in the IMO Council under Category C, or countries that have a special interest in maritime transport or navigation, are Bahamas, Bangladesh, Chile, Cyprus, Denmark, Egypt, Finland, Indonesia, Jamaica, Kenya, Malaysia, Malta, Mexico, Morocco, Peru, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, and Turkey.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, the Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs or DFA is working to repatriate by the end of the week the remains of the two Filipinos executed in China for drug trafficking. DFA spokesperson Maria Teresita Daza on Wednesday said that the Philippine Consulate General in Guangzhou is working on the repatriation of the remains of the two Filipino nationals and hopes to bring the remains by the end of the week. The two were arrested in Guangdong in 2013 for carrying methamphetamine hydrochloride, also known as shabu, or the poor man's cocaine, with a combined weight of 11.872 kilograms. The DFA earlier said the government had provided every possible assistance to their families and made high-level political representations to appeal for the commutation of their cases. The Chinese government, citing internal laws, upheld the death sentences. On November 24, the two were executed. In a separate statement on Tuesday, the Chinese embassy in Manila said China treats all drug cases and foreign prisoners in an equal and fair manner.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, French ambassador to the Philippines Marie Fontanelle on Wednesday said that France is ready to hold joint maritime patrols in the West Philippine Sea, reaffirming Paris's bid to reinforce its role as a like-minded partner in the Indo-Pacific. Ambassador Fontanelle made the statement after Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP Chief General Romeo Bronner Jr. said more states are seeking to hold air and sea patrols with the Philippines. France and the Philippines were awaiting for Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and French President Emmanuel Macron to greenlight the negotiations on a Visiting Forces Agreement or VFA, which would provide a legal framework for the presence of one country's forces in the other. The envoy clarified that France's push to increase presence in the region is under the ambit of its Indo-Pacific strategy that seeks to promote a rules-based order in the region. She added that France is also concerned over the developments in the West Philippine Sea. Meanwhile, the French ambassador said a memorandum of understanding was signed between Philippine Airlines or PAL and Paris-based airport operator Aéroports de Paris or ADP in June to explore the possibility of a non-stop flight. Fontanelle and Tourism Secretary Cristina Garcia Frasco met on December 5 and discussed a possible cooperation in the travel sector. The Department of Tourism said it is also lobbying for more direct flights to more European and commercially viable countries, including Paris. France is the Philippines' 16th largest source of foreign travelers, with 46,472 arrivals, recording from January to November this year.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang on Wednesday said Canada has pledged to support the Philippines' climate action projects until 2026 through its $5.3 billion international climate finance. In a statement, Presidential Communications Office or PCO Secretary Cheloy Garafil said that the Philippine government and the United Nations Development Program or UNDP are working in collaboration with Canada to reduce the climate finance gap through nature-based solutions projects. Citing the statement of Global Affairs Canada Climate Finance Executive Director Andrew Hurst, Garafil said Canada bolsters its support for the Philippines in promoting biodiversity conservation, climate change mitigation, adaptation, and resilience with consideration for gender equality. Hurst also gave assurance that Canada would stay engaged in the Philippines both in climate finance and bilateral assistance program. He said the project covers activities that include research and knowledge sharing, adding that its goal is to address a number of persistent issues through a single intervention or in an integrated way. Hurst expressed hope that some of the efforts undertaken in the project can really generate some ideas and form some creative solutions that themselves may have a life beyond the end of the project. He also noted the diversity of stakeholders involved in the project from the local level, communities, national government, and private sector, stressing that the uniqueness of arrangements could stimulate more efforts on cooperation in the future. In 2021, Canada doubled its international climate finance from $2.65 billion to $5.3 billion to further strengthen its ability in helping development countries or developing countries rather transition to low carbon, climate resilient, nature positive, and inclusive sustainable development.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, we would like to invite everyone to come and visit our Facebook page at Radyo Pilipinas World Service. You will be able to hear and view our Filipino and English programs, including news updates here in the Philippines. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this has been Steph Vicente. Good day and stay safe, everyone.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.